Last night, the Rangers actually played pretty well the first two periods. They played tough. They played well. Florida's a great team. They're a great defensive team. However, saying all of that, they were outplayed once again in the third period. Florida has owned the third period against the Rangers, especially in the last three games. But the Rangers defense is a mess. It is absolutely a mess. The amount of unobstructed shots that are within 5 feet of Igor Shesterkin is incredibly alarming. And anybody who has watched the Rangers this year, we know we have a decent defense. It's not a great defense. It's more, especially when Adam Fox is playing at 50%. I mean, he can barely move. He's a liability in some respects to his team because he's not the same player that we all want him to be, and it's not his fault. He's playing hurt, and people have to realize that he is laying it on the line for the team. And, the team is not out of anything yet. The other team's got to win another game. And I've been around this organization for a very long time. And whether you want to say 94, you want to say a couple of years ago, they were down 3-1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they came all the way back, and they won 3 straight games to win that series. They forced a Game 7 against Tampa. They forced a Game 7 against the Devils back in the day. I mean, I've seen crazier things happen than going on the road and winning a game and forcing a Game 7. So it's not over. It is not over by a long stretch. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played, and they have to find the will to go into the hard areas of this ice and go win some battles. I mean, the amount of pucks that get thrown back behind the Ranger defense to guys that are standing in front of Igor Shesterkin, and Igor having to make incredible saves, or guys just barely missing the net and hitting the posts. I've never seen anything like it. It's been a reoccurring problem this entire series, and a lot of that is credit to the Florida Panthers. I don't want to take anything away from them. They are a very, very good team, and believe you me, I would do anything to have Alexander Barkov on my team. The guy's a great player. Even though he was -2 last night, he's a great player, and he is the difference. Like that attitude, when you think about his attitude, Reinhardt's attitude, Sam Bennett's attitude, the way that they play, with the edge that they play with, and in their defensive pairings, with the exception of Kulikov, who's not out there that much, it's pretty much all even ice time. There's no top heavy guy on the ice. They share their ice time, and right now, Matt Rempe barely played last night, barely, and so I think that ship has sailed in terms of the energy and all of that. So this lineup change is going to be it's going to happen again. Rempe will not be in the lineup for Game 6 down there in Florida. No way. He's going to put guys in the lineup, most likely Wheeler, I would think. But the problem is that Mika and Kreider play better when they're shorthanded, because whoever they put on at right wing with those two guys does absolutely nothing for them. Whether it be Hedel, whether it be Kakko, and I want to give Hedel a pass because he hasn't played. And I know they were talking about that last night. It's amazing that he's playing right now. He still has the speed, but he just doesn't have the feel for the game. And he's doing nothing. I mean, not creating anything, not doing anything for Mika and Kreider. And Mika and Kreider, if you take a look at the empty net goal by Sam Bennett, here's a chance, Mika's got to fight for the puck across the board. And instead, he gets, I guess, a stick to the chest or whatever, and he tries to embellish like an elbow to the chin. That's the difference of the game. Not that one play, but the way that play unfolds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you hear the word soft attached to hockey players. Nobody on the ice is soft. But compared to the team that you're playing against, you could be a softer player. You don't want to go to the dirty areas of the ice. Panarin is completely missing in action. I mean, I don't know why he has stopped shooting. One of the things that he said that last offseason was that he was going to try to shoot more this season. And guess what? He did. Now, all of a sudden, he's trying to make these perfect passes. And I know Bobrovsky's a great goalie, just like Igor is. And I know you want to try to get them moving from side to side. But my God, you're a guy that's supposed to be a guy that's scoring goals, and you're not even taking shots.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we talked about in the regular season. As great as Panarin was, are we going to have this conversation where he disappears in the biggest moments? And this is what's going on now. It's not all him. I mean, as we mentioned many times, the Florida Panthers came in with a plan to shut him down, and they have executed it perfectly, and he's gotten frustrated, and he's not the same player, and that's going to have to change if they're going to win Game 6 and 7 and move on to the Stanley Cup Final. He cannot be a non-factor in these games offensively for them to win 2 games in a row against this team. And I think probably the most alarming thing for me in watching this game was I said yesterday I wanted the Rangers to score first. I wanted that building to get going, and I wanted that environment to carry them to a victory and also give them an edge that they haven't had, maybe physically, emotionally. I wanted them to be quicker, all of those things. And they got that. I mean, they got the probably best scenario to fire up the building and fire up the team in a Chris Kreider, who was called out, shorthanded goal to start the scoring last night, and then just slowly and slowly and slower and slower. By the time they got to the third period, the Florida Panthers just got back to their game and controlled it again.
Well, the third period was, again, and even at the end of the game when you pull the goalie and Sam Bennett gets the empty net goal, and then you come back and you score a goal again, you have about, 15 seconds left. And I'm not saying those 15 seconds are going to turn into a goal, but if you want a microcosm of what this series is, Nico Mikkola is on the boards, who was with the Rangers last year, by the way, and he's sitting on he's just holding the puck against the boards, and nobody can get the puck away from him. And the game ends with everybody on the boards. And that is what you call winning a board battle. There are 3 Rangers around him, and they can't get the freaking puck off the boards. And those are the little things in these games that ultimately decide these games. And you hear these coaches talking about it all the time, and it happens a lot. I mean, so the Sam Bennett taking the puck away from Mika and winning that board battle is just, again, it's a microcosm of the bigger picture of what is going on in this series. And that is the Panthers are tougher on the boards. They're tougher on the puck. And Igor has had to make, I don't know, I swear to God, if you go back and you look at every one of these games, there's got to be at least 7 to 10 grade A chances right in front of him where there is nobody between him and the puck carrier.
Yeah, and that's why when you see a goal squirt in between, his armpit and something they would normally save, you can't get on him because there were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to 15 saves that he would make that were spectacular, that probably should have been goals more so than the one that he gave up.
I have to say, I know Henrik is a great player. He's a Hall of Famer. Mike Richter, too. And Mike Richter did some unbelievable things, especially in Game 6 versus the Devils back in 1994. And Igor has had to do so much in these last 2 series because both of the teams that the Rangers have played, the Canes and the Panthers, are very similar. It's just that, to me, the captain of the Florida Panthers is the best player on the ice. He and Gustav Forsling, their defensemen, are the 2 best players that are playing in this series. And even though he was a -2 yesterday, and even though we won the face-off battles, and even though, they had more shots on goal once again, the Rangers go these 7, 8, 9 minutes of not even getting a shot on goal. I mean, it's crazy. And, the third line, Wenberg was a hero. He won an overtime game. Great. That line's doing nothing. I mean, although Will Cooley actually looks like he's got some speed and he's hitting people, and he ran over Barkov late last night, which I thought was great. I love that kid. I think that kid's got a great future. But the defense is a disaster. I mean, it's just a disaster. It's from getting the puck out of their own zone to trying to win puck battles to knowing to where to throw the puck to not have these crazy icing calls because you're panicking with the puck, to a point where they can't win a puck battle and the puck always seems to get in behind them somehow. And Igor has been amazing. Anybody who even questions Igor is an idiot, because the way that he has played in this series and the previous series has been nothing short of a miracle. And everybody on that defense should be kissing his ass for saving their bacon, because that's exactly what's gone on here.
And I think the question is, we know the answer of what the Rangers will need to do in order to win 2 more games and go to the Stanley Cup final, but are they capable
Yes.
of it is the question.
100% they're capable of it.
I mean, they haven't necessarily shown some of these things that you're asking for in a majority of the series, and now they're going to have to do it. Are they all of a sudden going to be able to be the more physical team, win those board battles, control play, get the puck out of their own zone on 5-on-5 where it seems like the Florida Panthers have a power play? Are those things going to change for 2 games for them to win?
What's amazing is they get a 2-1 lead, and then all of a sudden their defense and lockdown situation gets involved. The Rangers could learn something from a thing or two from what they're doing and how they're doing it. I was watching MSG pregame last night, and Brian Boyle had some great points, and he was talking about the defensive mix-ups and the problems and, the different types of defenses the Rangers have played. And I'm saying, thank God somebody is finally explaining what the hell is what's going on the ice, and how the Rangers are really having a hell of a time defensively. And, it's a nightmare when you think about it, and I've just never seen anything quite like it. I mean, from a team that is one of the Final Four teams. And I know the Florida Panthers are a good team. We knew that was going to be a tough matchup because they're bigger, they're tougher, they're stronger. There are some guys in this series that have played really, really well and played tough. Barclay Goodrow is one of them. I think he's played really tough. I thought Keandre Miller, without taking the penalties last night, he played maybe one of his best games in this series. He looked like he was a man-child and like he was trying to make something happen. And they were forcing the issue. There was, without question, the first 2 periods. But again, that third period, they lost it. And once they lost it, it was so hard to come back from it. And you could feel it. And unfortunately, the anxiety is in that building. And I often tell you about what anxious New York fans are like.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to play in front of them. And I'm not saying it's not the fans' fault, but I'm just saying you could feel it. And I think Sean McDonough and Ray Ferraro were talking about it, how quiet it was and how people were on edge and how people were, leaving when it was 3-1. And I don't blame people for leaving. But at the end of the day, it's a team that is physically, in the third period especially, has dominated the Rangers and has dominated the board battles, the corner battle. I don't care about power plays. They have dominated the Rangers' power play. It has just been like a lockdown situation, and it's frustrating. And it does remind me of the Devils back in '94 with the way that they play defense.
Sure, and that's the thing that is kind of it's concerning, is the fact that that's a tough thing to turn around. You said it yourself. They're bigger, they're tougher, and they're stronger. And that's something that's not going to change unless there's injuries that happen. So are the Rangers all of a sudden going to be tougher and stronger than the Florida Panthers in the next 2 games?
I told you yesterday that I thought that Kreider would step up and do something.
Yeah.
And he did do something. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was telling him, I was thinking, maybe Peter Laviolette should just send those guys out there shorthanded the whole time, because they play better shorthanded, because the third guy that they always try to put with them seems to get in the way.
Yeah.
They've tried Roslovic. They've tried Capo Caco. They've tried Philip Hedl. They started with Wheeler this year. They can't find a goddamn right wing to go with Kreider and Zibanejad. They just can't. And, you don't really notice it so much during the regular season when you're playing, every other night or, 3 nights a week, whatever it may be. But when you get into a series like this against a really good team with a coach who is going to draw up a game plan and say, this is the way we're going to do it, that's when it becomes noticeable. And that's when it becomes really frustrating. And you could just see it. And quite frankly, again, I go back to a couple board battles, a couple things that have happened in yesterday's game that kind of reflect this entire series against Florida, which is it's a struggle. But, that doesn't mean that they can't go down and win a Game 6 on Saturday night.